Hi there, and welcome to the Neurobiology of Exceptional Cancer Survivorship, a free webinar exploring some of the most important, some of the most paradigm-changing, actually, concepts of what the research shows can empower optimal survivorship in terms of quality of life and even in terms of quantity of life. And in this webinar, it will last around 20, maybe 30 minutes. We're just going to dive into the science, the research, the implications of this area of study, why it's so absolutely fundamentally important for everyone living with cancer to be aware of and to be implementing. Okay. So before we dive in, just a quick hello and introduction from me. So my name is Dr. Sam Watts. I've worked in the arena of cancer survivorship and cancer research, clinical cancer research for over almost 15 years. I worked in the NHS where I ran cancer survivorship protocols, cancer survivorship research trials, clinical trials in a variety of different cancers: breast cancer, ovarian cancer, prostate cancer, pediatric cancers. And the whole focus of my research, what excited me the most and excites me the most, is trying to understand the mechanisms of survivorship. What can we do to help people thrive in the face of cancer? And my real passion, almost obsession in many ways, is trying to delineate and understand the mechanisms of exceptional cancer survivorship. Okay, what are the variables? What are the practices? What are the techniques that are most predictive of achieving exceptional cancer survivorship? And that means, drastically improve quality of life, but also quantity of life. What are the variables that are predictive of people living longer, happier, healthier lives with cancer? Okay. And that was my burning passion 15 years ago. It's my burning passion now, because if we can understand those variables, then we can pick them up, we can put them into protocols, and we can give them to other people with cancer to maximize their ability to become exceptional themselves. I'm also trained in Ayurvedic medicine, another passion of mine. Some of you may have heard of Ayurveda. It's so popular at the moment. Ayurveda is a holistic, whole-centered system of medicine. It's actually regarded as the oldest systematically practiced form of medicine in the world today. It's something that I've had the privilege of being immersed in from a very young age. But why it's so relevant here is if we look at the Western clinical research around exceptional cancer survivorship, and then we look at the practices that are most predictive of helping people to achieve that, the bulk of those practices fall under the umbrella of Ayurveda. These are the self-care practices, the dietary interventions, the mind-body practices, the herbal medicines. Ayurveda has a beautiful time-tested blueprint for helping people thrive in the face of cancer. And the focus of my professional life now is marrying these two interdependent fields together: the Western clinical science around exceptional cancer survivorship and how Ayurveda can help people achieve that. And before we start, I just want to say that the content we'll be discussing in this webinar comes from my upcoming book called The Ayurvedic Approach to Cancer. Okay, my aim for writing this book is to empower people, is to motivate people, is to provide hope to people living with cancer by dovetailing, like I just said, the Western research around exceptional cancer survivorship and how Ayurveda can be used as an evidence-based blueprint to become exceptional ourselves, to unleash these practices in our own life. And I just wanted to flag up a really unique opportunity. So the book comes out in February 2025, next year. But if you pre-order the book before Christmas, you get completely free lifetime access to my 4-week, it's an exclusive 4-week course. It's an online interactive course called The Science and Secrets of Survivorship. We run that course kind of once a year. Usually it retails for £499, but you get it completely free, okay, if you pre-order the book before Christmas, which you can do for £16.99, and you get that £500 course for free. You can find more information about the book and the course via the links on the webpage below this video. Okay, and it would be great to see you there. That 4-week course kicks off in January 2025, and it'd be great to see you there. So to kick off this webinar, we have to almost digress drastically. Okay, bear with me here. If this sounds abstract and irrelevant, it's the complete opposite. Okay, this is the clarion call in the clinical research for the mechanisms of exceptional cancer survivorship. And it's a beautiful analogy. So Roger Bannister, you probably may know, was the first person to break the 4-minute mile. This was the athletic obsession. Okay, from 1886 to 1954, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of elite athletes from around the world had tried to be the first person to break this, elusive 4-minute mile. No one had come even close. Okay, then when World War II ended, from about 1947, 1948, it became a global athletic obsession. It was up there with the space race. It was a way of cultivating national supremacy. It was a way of establishing post-war supremacy. It was an obsession in most of the world's bigger countries. And yet, despite all the advances in sports science and biomechanics and training and understanding of physiology and lung function and coaching techniques, no one could do it. From 1948 to 1954, there was about 250 elite athletes from around the world with the best possible resources and training and coaching. None of them could get close to breaking this 4-minute mile. Okay. And by about 1954, 1953, 1954, the consensus within the world of elite athletics, from the leading physiologists, the leading biomechanics, the leading coaches, was that it's probably physiologically impossible for a human being to cover that distance in that time. Okay, it's not that something's stopping us. It's just not within our capacity, in the same way that we can't breathe underwater, or that we will never run 100 meters in 3 seconds. There are some things that we will never be able to achieve, and the 4-minute mile, breaking that 4-minute mile, was maybe one of those things. Okay, it was labeled as being impossible. It was an impossible human achievement. It couldn't be done. Okay, and I think straight away we can see the relevance here to survivorship. How many of us, and there may be people listening to this who've heard that, that your prognosis is incurable. Okay, a word I hate, two words I hate passionately: terminal and incurable. Okay, neither of those things apply to any health condition. Okay, and the evidence supports that. But how many times do we hear things like it's impossible to recover, it's impossible for you to overcome this? That's the status quo, and it was the status quo in the race for the 4-minute mile. And then one cold, wet day in Oxford in 1954, a young man called Roger Bannister turned up, completely amateur, no training, no professional coaching, no sports science support, used his own training methods, his own techniques, and he went to the track and he broke the 4-minute mile. Okay. And overnight, he made the impossible possible. Okay. That's all very interesting, but it's what happens next that is most sacrosanct to us. And I cannot overemphasize the significance of this. Because once Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile, then so did everyone else. Okay, bearing in mind, since 1886, hundreds and hundreds, almost 1,000 athletes have tried. No one has succeeded. Okay, from 1948 to 1954, 250 of the world's leading athletes have spent the best part of a decade. No one could do it. And then Roger Bannister did it. And then a month later, an Australian runner ran the 4-minute mile, but then shaved another second off it. And then 3 runners broke the 4-minute mile in the same race. And then over the next just under 2 years, within the next 18 months, all of those 250 plus athletes who'd been spent years and years and years trying to break the 4-minute mile but couldn't do it, every single one of them also broke the 4-minute mile in the 18 months after Roger Bannister had done it. Okay, so huge contrast. No one could do it. No one could do it. No one could do it. One person does it, and then everyone does it. Okay, how was that possible? Why was it possible? What had changed? What a change that had turned a officially labeled impossibility to morph into possible literally overnight. Okay, what changed? None of the key variables had changed relevant to athletic performance. The coaching hadn't changed, the nutrition hadn't changed, the distance, the fitness, the athletes, nothing had changed. The genetics, nothing had changed. Every single facet, every single component of what is required to successfully break the 4 minute mile remained the same post Roger Bannister compared to pre Roger Bannister, except one. Okay, but that one is the paradigm changing one. And it was the knowledge that it was possible. Okay, and with that knowledge, every single thing changed. Okay, and it was the only thing that had changed. The 250 athletes that broke it after Roger Bannister broke it, the only thing that changed was the knowledge that it could be done. Okay. And we can apply this, we can look at this pictorially. Okay. So in the first step is this initial reshaping of reality. Okay. So these athletes who couldn't break it, they heard in the news that Roger Bannister had broken it. Okay. And there was a reshaping of their reality. Their reality pre Roger Bannister was that in their deepest beliefs, consciously and subconsciously, was that I'm never going to achieve this. It can't be done. Okay. They learned that Roger Bannister had done it, and there was a reshaping of their reality. It can be done. We know it's humanly possible. Okay. What's the upshot of that? Step two, there's a corresponding change in subjective belief, consciously and subconsciously. Someone else has done it, so therefore it's possible for me to do it. Okay. Then what happens? Step three, that belief that because someone else has done it means that I can do it. That genuine belief that it's possible because someone else has done it induced a quantifiable, measurable change in physiology in terms of lung function, in terms of oxygenation, in terms of lactic acid threshold, all of these things that allowed the body to run faster. And the outcome was that success was achieved. Impossible, something that had been impossible for almost 100 years, something that had been impossible for 250 elite athletes for almost a decade, overnight went from being impossible to possible because of a neurobiological change, the belief that it was possible. Okay, the belief that it was possible because someone else had done it allowed them to do it. And then we can take that model and we can apply it to the arena of cancer survivorship. And the really important thing to emphasize here is that across the primary 150, 160 main cancers, the 150, 160 most common types of cancer, there isn't one of those cancers that someone with an incurable stage 4 terminal prognosis hasn't gone on to survive with for 7, 10 plus years, or even better still, going to full remission. Not one. Okay, that's not to say that everyone with incurable cancer can survive 20 years. But what does it say? What does that say to us? It allows us to reshape our reality. I've been diagnosed with stage 4 incurable colon cancer, but I know others have survived with that. Okay, I guarantee you that whatever cancer you are living with, there will be clinical case studies of people with a terminal incurable prognosis who have gone on to survive long term, to become exceptional. Okay, that allows you and I to reshape our reality. Others have survived with the cancer I have. That's a scientific clinical fact. That then morphs into step two, which is a corresponding change in subjective belief. Because someone else has done it, it's theoretically possible that I can also do it. I can survive with this. I can be here in 5, 7, 10, 15, 20 years in good health because someone else has done it. Then that morphs into step three, which is a quantifiable change in our physiologically driven healing responses. Okay, PNI. PNI stands for psycho-neuro-immunology. It's a whole new field of scientific research and medicine based around the mechanisms of mind-body medicine and how our beliefs and attitudes can physiologically change our function in the direction of healing. And that, in the context of cancer, that's immune modulation, immune activation, inflammatory regulation, metabolic change, hormone regulation, all of these kinds of things. We experience a quantifiable change in these physiologically driven healing mechanisms because we believe something can be done. Okay, in the same way that it allowed the body to run faster in the Roger Bannister example. The outcome of that is what? Success is achieved. Impossible becomes possible. You have, the bombs are going off, and the prognosis is getting worse, and everything's looking difficult, and the capacity for long-term survival or remission or all of these kinds of things is in some cases being stripped away, and impossible can become the status quo. We need to move that into possible. Okay, but that starts with a reshaping of reality, and that's exactly why the arena of exceptional cancer survivorship research is so important, because it shows us what's possible. It shows us what's achievable. It shows us that even in the face of extensive metastatic cancer burden, people have gone on to survive for decades. Okay, we need to have that belief that we can do the same. But to cultivate that belief, we face a neurological challenge. It's called a neurological hijack. Okay. And it's driven by a part of the brain called the neocortex. And the neocortex is our kind of rational, ego-based brain. Okay. And it's responsible for suppressing kind of changes in beliefs and attitudes. Okay. The neocortex is there to keep us safe. When we were hunter-gatherers, when we were evolving as a species, people that stayed safe survived long enough to procreate and pass their genes on. The ones that explored, the ones that went beyond the boundaries of safety, were the ones that got eaten. Okay, so the neocortex says to us, stay safe, don't change your beliefs, don't change your attitudes, don't expand your mind, stay where you are, because that I know and I can control it and it's safe. That is what was governing all of the athletes before Roger Bannister. The neocortex was saying, it can't be done, it can't be done, it can't be done. Okay, even though in their brain, in their mind, they might be saying, I can do this, their deep-seated belief was that it can't be done. And it shackled the body, it stopped it being done. It literally mobilized impossible. Okay. So when we are in a neocortex driven outlook, okay, that will produce a type of brainwave called beta waves. And that will force us or cause us to stay stuck in the belief that it can't be done. Okay. When we're in this place that, survivorship, optimizing survivorship, improving our quality of life, improving our quantity of life, moving into the realm of exceptional, it becomes impossible. The neocortex says it can't be done. Okay. And we can't, the key point with this hijack is we can't outthink it. We can't outthink that process. It's like saying, if I said to you listening now, okay, I want you to shut your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and whatever you do, don't think about a bright pink elephant. Okay. To not think about a bright pink elephant, you have to firstly think about it. Okay. It's the same with this. We can't outthink the brain. We can't outthink the neocortex, because by thinking about it, we reinforce it. Okay. So the more we're saying, I can achieve this, I can become exceptional, I can thrive in the face of cancer, I can recover, all the neocortex is saying is, it's not possible, it's not possible, it's not possible. We can't outthink it. The only way around this neurological hijack, the only way to ultimately mobilize what Roger Bannister mobilized in all of the hundreds of other athletes after he achieved it, was to allow us to perceive our world, our reality, our health, our survivorship through a completely different neurological lens that doesn't outthink the neocortex, but bypasses it. Okay. And that's theta brainwaves. Okay. It's the most evidence-based, the most neurologically sound mechanism we have for mitigating or circumventing the negative bias of the neocortex. Okay. And there's so much fascinating Western neurological research around why this is so important, and why the neocortex and is so suppressing of healing, and why theta waves are so mobilizing of healing, particularly mind-body healing, particularly in the arena of PNI, psychoneuroimmunology. Because the reason for that is when we are in theta waves, something called brain suggestibility. Okay, when we're in theta waves, the suggestibility of the brain increases drastically. So to the subconscious mind opens up, and the conscious mind open up to the genuine belief in new ideas and new belief systems. It allows the brain to actually neurologically create belief systems that it believes in. Okay. So it allows us to cultivate an outlook that truly believes in our ability to become exceptional and flourish in the face of cancer, rather than just playing lip service to it. We can say to ourselves, until we're blue in the face, that I can survive, I can overcome this cancer, I can recover, I can regain my health. But in my experience, and the research supports this, a lot of the time we're saying that, but we don't genuinely believe it, either at the conscious or the subconscious level, because the neocortex is saying that's not the case. Okay. If we're cultivating that belief through theta wave activity, we shut down the neocortex, and the brain says, okay, well, you're telling me that I can survive, I can recover, I can break the 4-minute mile, it's doable, it's possible. There's nothing telling me it's not, because the neocortex is being deactivated. So I'm going to run with this. I'm going to accept this. This sounds like a good belief. It sounds like a valid outlook. It sounds like something I want. So I'm going to embed this neurologically, because I think it's a good idea. And the brain becomes suggestible to the ideas that we are shaping and forming. Okay. So we can think of theta as a controllable mechanism for activating the neurobiology of the body, in the way that Roger Bannister did. Okay. Before Roger Bannister, no one could break the 4-minute mile because it couldn't be done. Post Roger Bannister, everyone did it because they knew it could be achieved. Okay. That wasn't theta waves that did that. It was Roger Bannister. Because someone else had done it, they knew they could do it. Okay. But we can take the same model. We know that almost certainly, whatever cancer you're living with, someone with incurable stage 4 cancer has gone on to survive for a very long time, almost certainly. Okay, we have that belief that that's a reality. Okay, we access theta waves. That allows the brain, neurologically speaking, to subscribe to that new belief. That changes our neurobiology, our immunology, all of the anti-cancer mechanisms that maximize our ability for that belief, I can thrive and survive and recover, to become reality. And we can see this in blood work. We can see it in lab results. Okay. And then when we access theta wave is the gateway to mind-body medicine and to the neurobiology of survivorship. Because when we're in theta wave, we can then mobilize 2 additional practices that are sacrosanct in the survivorship research. Some of this is some of the most profound cancer survivorship research ever published. Guided mental imagery, which was made famous by an American oncologist called Carl Simonton, who had phenomenal, survivorship results through using imagery and neurobiology, and goal setting, because we can use these techniques to imprint on the mind, on the brain, what we are wanting to achieve, whether that's an increase in immune counts, an increase in hemoglobin, more energy, less chemotherapy side effects, being healthy and alive in 10 years' time, whatever it may be. Okay, we obviously haven't got the capacity to cover those techniques in this webinar. I cover them in detail in the book and in the 4 free-week course, and they're sacrosanct. Okay, but they won't work. Those techniques, actually, virtually every survivorship technique won't work if the brain is saying it's impossible. Okay, what's the point of transforming our diet? What's the point of overhauling our diet, taking supplements and herbs and this, that, and the other, if we don't believe in our ability to recover and thrive? Okay, because the body's going to hijack it, the brain is going to hijack it. So we have to bypass this. And the only way we can do that is to activate theta. How? Okay, it's the three S's, the 3S model. Theta wave is activated when the three S's are mobilized: silence, solitude, and stillness. Okay, we know, again, from the traditional practices, in Ayurveda, this has been known about for 4,000 or 5,000 years. But the Western neurology, the Western research shows that the only real way we can mobilize theta brainwaves is via introspective contemplative practices. When we turn our focus inwards, when the brain shifts into a very safe contemplative mode. And meditation, in terms of reliability, in terms of clinical research, meditation is the most effective means of accessing theta brainwaves. Okay, typically about 20, the dose response in terms of the most reliable findings is, if we're meditating or practicing mindfulness 20 minutes a day, we would usually be harnessing and unleashing theta waves in a way that allows us to use the suggestibility of the brain in our favor in the way we've just explored. Okay, so meditation is the most effective way, but prayer, using mala beads or rosemary beads, chanting, pranayama, breathing exercises, nature immersion, anything that allows us to lose ourselves, okay, will facilitate a move into theta. And this, for me, and the first chapter of the book, the reason this is what's discussed in the first chapter of the book, is the first practice of the book, is because it's the first thing we need to adopt. Okay, if we are genuinely motivated to build the most robust, all-encompassing, evidence-based survivorship protocol into your life, the first thing we have to do before anything else is create the belief in our ability to achieve this. Okay, our ability to thrive, our ability to increase our quality of life, our quantity of life, and to survive. Okay, because without that belief, any other practice we use isn't going to work as well. It's going to be shackled. And I can honestly say, I've had the privilege over the last 15 plus years of working and knowing and meeting and talking with hundreds of exceptional cancer survivors, people with terminal prognoses, who are alive, 5, 7, 10 plus years down the line. And it's the biggest privilege of my professional life. And they inspire me every day when I speak to these people or read their interviews and things like that. And they're all so different. They're old, young, male, female, different cancers. The only consistency I've ever observed in people who become exceptional cancer survivors is that they have cultivated a genuine, all-consuming belief that they can. That's the only consistency I've ever observed. So as a takeaway, we know this is a valid concept. We know the research around the exceptional cancer survivor is a clinical discipline, trying to delineate the mechanisms that allow people to become exceptional. Okay. The question is not, can it be achieved? We know it can be achieved. If you read the book Radical Remission, if you haven't read it, if you have, you'll know this is a realistic goal. Okay. The question is not, can it be achieved? The question is, how do I maximize my ability to achieve it? Okay. And, like I say, for me, having worked in cancer research, in the NHS, and having, been working clinically with Ayurveda for, 20 plus years, the Ayurvedic blueprint for me is the ultimate framework for dovetailing the Western research of exceptional survivorship with the actual practical techniques for realizing that, in terms of mind-body medicine, in terms of the neurobiology, in terms of diet, in terms of herbal medicines, in terms of circadian biology, in terms of lifestyle, all of it. So, like I say, the full blueprint for all of this, the last 15, 20 years of my experience, decades of, published research from around the world, has been assimilated into this book. Okay, it comes with extensive online resources, guided, mental imagery, scripts, guided meditations, meal plans. Like I say, if you pre-order the book before Christmas, you get completely free access to the Science and Secrets of Survivorship course, which is delivered on Zoom. It's live, it's interactive, it's also recorded, so you get lifetime access. That retails for £499, but like I say, you get it completely for free if you pre-order the book before Christmas. That just leaves me to say a massive thank you for being here. I hope you've enjoyed this webinar. And my parting message would be, above all else, never, ever, ever lose sight or forget of your capacity to become exceptional. That ability lies dormant in all of us. We just need to unleash it, and unleashing it requires a multifactorial mechanism of, you know, all of the key variables, but it starts with our mind and our neurobiology. Okay, you can achieve this. We know it's there. Okay, so best of luck on your journey moving forward. I'd love to see you on the 4-week course when we kick off in January. I'd love to, I'd love to empower you with the book. If you have any questions, please do connect with us on our social media channels, and I will see you soon.